Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. Happy Monday. Today we got a great show for you. First, let's talk about the Little Rock Nine, how they are slamming the restrictions and the non-credit AP Black History courses in Arkansas. We'll talk a little bit about the ongoing situation about the attack on Black history. We'll have that part of the conversation. Also, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan offers no labels as the party that could be a quote-unquote viable alternative to the two big nominations coming out of the Democratic and Republican parties. I'll share with you what the former governor has to say, and I want to have a conversation about it as well with you, crew. Also, later on, we check in with our resident doctor, family physician, cannabis expert, Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness, as she got some stuff to talk about as it relates to the cannabis industry and so much more. So, folks, join us in the conversation right now. We're streaming live on blackstarnetwork.com, Amazon News. We're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. But join us on our Facebook page under Roland Martin and be a part of the culture crew for the day right there on YouTube. So stay with us. We got a lot to talk about on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, there we go. Welcome to the culture right here on Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. First and foremost, folks, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Man, oh man, it has been a weekend. And let me just tell you, folks, LA is sunny right now. I know many people have been checking in with me and concerned, like, what's going on with the storm? Well, there were some tropical storm. Hillary certainly has done her damage, flooding many parts of Los Angeles and in LA County. Here in LA City, folks, we got a little flooding. We definitely got some flooding, but thank God we are well. And of course, folks all across the city and around the county are still trying to pick up the pieces. LA's Unified School District has closed schools, which were scheduled to start today, but schools were closed today because of the aftermath of Tropical Storm Hillary, and power lines were down in some areas such as Palm Springs and other parts of LA County and Orange County and other areas. So, check on your family, check on your friends. If you have some folks living out here on the West Coast, and just let them know that your hearts are with them, their prayers are with them. Some areas obviously were hit harder than the others, but as of right now, is more down power lines and property damage, and not talk of fatalities, but was a serious rainstorm that it came through the area. So we just thank God that we're blessed to have another day here to be with you. Folks, let's jump right into the conversation, because I know some of you are checking in all across the country, and I enjoy listening to you, checking in with you, hearing what you got to say. Crew, y'all know what we do here on the show. Make sure y'all check in with me. We're streaming live on Black Star Network on our homepage, but you're also streaming live on Amazon News, where you can find us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just go to your Fire TV and say, hey, Alexa, play news for Black Star Network. And boom, here we go right there. Also, folks, we can find us now on Plex TV, where you can search for Black Star Network, or find us under Live TV, and then go to News and Opinions. And we're streaming there live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Plex TV. And so big shout out to Amazon and Plex for continuing to support us here on The Culture and on Black Star Network. And of course, we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, and it's on Roland Martin's YouTube page, where you can join us for the conversation and be the crew member for today. All right, let me check in with the crew. My sister, Karen Connor. Karen, my sister out there, my sister in LA here, man. She's my big sister. She survived the California. We had the hurricane. Yeah, it was a little what's like a 5.1 earthquake. I didn't feel it. I'm in LA City, y'all. I didn't feel it, but I know some people did. So this is all new to me from the East Coast. You talking about earthquakes and stuff. I'm I'm rethinking some decisions. No, I'm not. I'm not rethinking any decisions, bro. Conscious Thought, my guy. Thank you so much, brother, for checking in. Good afternoon, Culture Crew. Thank you. Good afternoon, Conscious Thought. Deidre, I see you. Thank you for checking in. McCall, I see you. Thank you. Hey, McCall. Pastor David, good to see you, brother. I hope all is well with you, the family, and the church, dear sir. Thank you for once again for checking in. My sister Robin Welch, happy Monday, Culture Crew family. Happy Monday, Robin. Good to see you again. Good afternoon, everyone. For my man Brian Christian. Brian, thank you so much for checking in. My sister Tiana. Tiana, thank you so much for checking in. We're going to just do a little roll call here. Cindy D, I see you, Cindy. Thank you so much. Hello, 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 family. Jacqueline Botain. Thank you so much. Man of God, fist up. There it is, brother. Thank you so much, brother, for checking in. Anastasia Paget, peace and love. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, Anastasia. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. And so many more folks are checking in. I see. All right, just join us here on the chat, folks, as we're streaming live on YouTube. All right, let's go. Let's jump into it, crew. Let me share with you the latest on this situation. Y'all remember back a couple of days ago, I shared with you that in Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee has signed into policy that there's going to be some restrictions on African American AP courses as a result of what the state has created this new law or this new mandate saying that these courses can be taken by students, but they won't be given any additional. The students won't get any credit for it. And as a part of this trend that we're seeing, especially from Republican-controlled states, that they want to kind of downplay and diminish, and in some cases erase history, Black history in particular. So we're seeing the situation in the state of Arkansas, given the fact that Sarah Huckabee used to work for President Trump. I'm not surprised that she's taking this stance on this situation. Well, Little Rock Nine, you know, that historic group of Black students who helped to integrate public schools in Little Rock, Arkansas, back in 1957. There's several surviving members of the Little Rock Nine has come out and spoken out against this level of restriction and banning. Let me share with you the latest from NBC News here, folks, that these group of students who integrated the Little Rock Central High School in 1957 under threats of violence from white segregationists are denouncing the Arkansas Department of Education's restrictions on an advanced placement African American studies course. Terrence Roberts, 81 years old, another member of the Little Rock Nine, reflected on how the federal government's show of force wasn't always enough to protect Black children crossing the color barrier. He said all 9 of us suffered physically and emotionally. Of the first Black students attending Central High, he said one of the worst moments for him was when a white student wielding a baseball bat called him the N-word and said if you weren't so small before dropping the weapon and backing off. I'm thinking, wow, salvation by stature, he said. He said, at a bare minimum, he said there shouldn't be laws restricting their ability to learn or what they could learn, as he talks about where the future of education for Black students is going. There's a little picture of just some of the surviving members of the Little Rock Nine pushing back on this new policy from the Arkansas Department of Education's treatment of the advanced placement course. Again, folks, the state is not barring from taking the class, but has cautioned that the coursework may not count towards the state's high school graduation requirements. And the DOE of Arkansas argued that since the course is still being piloted, it's unclear whether it runs afoul of a state law signed by Governor Sarah Huckabee in March, banning the teaching of critical race theory. Crew, I would love to get your take on this very quickly. What's your take on this as the Little Rock Nine decides to use their voice to speak? I'm feeling empowered about this, y'all. I always feel empowered when some of the pioneers, some of the trailblazers from our past come forward and use their voice. So big shout out to the Little Rock Nine, the surviving members, their families, for not allowing things to just let them be. You got to say something. But look how deep this thing has gone, folks. The reality is that when we're talking about Black history, when we're talking about having a proper understanding and respect for Black history, that it goes so far back. We're talking about 1957. That was nearly what? Almost 70 years ago? 66 years ago. And so it runs deep. Nearly, I mean, if you think about that, that's a long time ago, folks. That's a long time ago. And they have to come back and use their voices to push this thing forward. That's how critical of a situation this is when you're talking about banning, restricting, not allowing credit for courses to teach Black history. What don't they want us to know? That's what underneath all of this stuff, that's the question that comes to my mind. Why are you so afraid to teach Black history in the schools? Now, some of us, but not on this network. Let me just tell you, on this network, on this show, on Roland Martin, on any show we have on this network, history is out there front and center. You cannot have a conversation about freedom, justice, equality, no conversation about liberation if history is not a part of the discussion. So why is it that there is so many attacks on history? There's this restriction, this ban. What is it about knowing your history that becomes a problem? Why is knowing your history problematic for a student to learn? I don't remember when I was in school, and y'all tell me if y'all remember this, crew, and then we're going to take a quick pause. I don't remember any time when I was in school where they're like, no, you can't teach Black history. But now they see that history, starting from the past, is a way to determine what the future is going to be. And in order for people to break out of this space that we find ourselves in, right? In the midst of all of this growth in technology, in the midst of all of this growth in diversity, they say, you know what? We're going to key in on the history, because if we connect folks to their history, under the momentum from everything from Black Lives Matter to the momentum from decisions from the Supreme Court, from the momentum from police brutality, from the momentum of a Black president in office, from the momentum of all of these things, if we key in on history, which serves as the glue, which helps us to connect the dots and brings us the clarity for us to see things, for us to understand things, and most importantly, for us to move out, right? To move out on things with a line of action, with understanding, with power. They know the importance of history. Question is, do we know the importance of history? And I'm not saying that to us because y'all tune into the show, y'all supporters of the network, but a lot of our people in Black America, we downplay our own history. We act as if that is not important. Whereas the GOP, those who want to keep us in a state of being controlled, who are in a state of servitude, those who don't want us to make the type of progress that we want to make, they know the importance of history. They didn't start from the front, they went to the back. And they know that if you don't teach history to these babies, they're not going to be growing up to think in a revolutionary, liberating way. Crew, I want you to share your thoughts on this. This is deep. And again, what the Little Rock 9 does is help connect the dots. So now you learn about the Little Rock 9 from 1957, but then you got to bring it up to speed to say, okay, 60 something years later, we in the same predicament. We're creeping on the same predicament, helping to connect the dots. That's why the importance of having our trailblazers speak to the present moment of our condition is so important to help connect the dots. Folks, I want to get your take on this. Joining me in the conversation, we're again streaming live on YouTube under Roland Martin, on Facebook. What's your take on this? Little Rock 9's deciding to stand up and push back against this restriction on AP African American courses. Love to get your take. We got to take a quick pause. When we come back, Let's hear what you got to say. Stay with me, folks. We got a lot to cover in this first part of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We have been talking about how the Little Rock Nine, that historic group of Black students who helped to integrate Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas back in 1957, 66 years ago, are the surviving, several surviving members of that group are speaking out and up and against this new restriction on teaching advanced placement African-American history within the Arkansas school system. They're speaking up as Governor Sarah Huckabee of Arkansas has decided to make it a law to not allow certain coursework to be accepted or to be used towards any credit for college admissions. This is coming from her office. This is coming from the Department of Education in Arkansas. And it has created, this is part of a nationwide trend that we have been talking about the attack on Black history. But my question is to us folks, is that why don't they want us to learn our history? Why do they attack the past in order for us to, even though we might be years away from that time frame, but it is critical that we understand why they attack the past. And I want us to frame this conversation in a different way, because I know people say it's about African-American studies, it's about learning history. Some folks will go as far as say, look, this is American history, and it's absolutely American history. But more importantly, this is an attack on the thinking of Black and brown and white students, folks. This is an attack on the thinking of students, So if a child, specifically Black children, don't know where they came from, I remember getting this little excerpts and tidbits. Y'all may remember this as well. Remember back in the day, when you were going to school in the 80s and 90s, they used to show you things like Eyes on the Prize videos, and they used to talk about those things, right? But there was a lot of visual imagery that was used in teaching those lessons in social studies and history and whatnot. So we're looking at a situation now that they want to not even just attack the history in terms of rewriting it or erasing it or not mentioning certain things, but they're also attacking and quote unquote insulting in the intelligence of Black students to not feel connected to who they came from, and most importantly, where they're going. So I'm so happy that the Little Rock Nine, this historic group of Black folks who made the revolutionary step to do something that they truly believed in was the right thing to do, which was to integrate the schools. And at that time, that was one of the most revolutionary things you could do. This is a simple thing of going to school. The simple thing of learning how to read. The simple thing of wanting to learn, which is a natural human desire. All right, folks, let's go to you, because crew, I want to hear your take on this. This is interesting. This is very interesting. All right, let me kick it off with, let me see. I saw a couple of, Cindy, my sister Cindy D, you said, I was ahead of my time. I talked about the Little Rock Nine last week. It all started in Arkansas. Separate but equal was never equal. Huckabee Sanders doesn't care. She's a white supremacist nationalist. Separate but equal, but never equal, and she doesn't care. Thank you so much, Cindy. McCole, let me see here. Not McCole, I'm sorry. You don't like my music. You say, according to the most recent anthropology, every human comes from the Great Rift Valley in Kenya. That's a little history. See, you start connecting the dots. Once you learn a little history and your mind get exposed to some consciousness, folks, we know that your mind can never go back to its previous place, its previous form. Once you start learning the truth, once you start learning history, and this is why they don't want us to know this, because we're in a time frame, and I got to talk about this, but I was reading an LA Times article just yesterday. It was talking about lies, damn lies in social media. That was the name of the column. And they were talking about the level of misinformation and disinformation that exists in social media today is unprecedented, right? But that's what gets to the root of it. It talked about how lies have created this polarization in this country, because when people start to accept the lies, whether it's the lie about 2020 election, whatever lie that it is, it does something to people, folks. It really does something to people. When you don't expose people to the truth, when you don't expose people to the past, right? And I'm talking about unfiltered, unabridged, just telling it like it is, right? You leave the door open for darkness to enter to that person's mind. You leave a door open for doubt to enter and suspicion. You leave a door open where a person is still might not be too certain or sure about who they are, where they come from, or who other people are, where other people come from. And it comes down to when you start lying to people, when you start trying to, it's a form of control that is very, very evil on its very root. This is getting evil, right? This is not just about, oh, we don't want to say because no, this is an all-out attack on the intelligence and the humanity and the very identity of Black people in this country. All right, let's go to Tiana. You said the level of hate in this country is crazy. I'm glad they spoke up. This was 66 years ago, not that long ago. Absolutely. Absolutely. Janelle, thank you so much, Tiana. Janelle, you checked in. You said the past prologues the future. Come on. This battle will only expand across the nation. Everywhere the GOP is not answered with swift revolt. We have to support every effort and sue the GOP when necessary. Well, we can definitely do that, Janelle. But I think your point is absolutely well taken. The past prolongs the future. So, we're looking at the present. And that's very interesting. Our culture, if y'all think about it, our culture is always focused and emphasizes the present moment, right? And we do. But then there are other things that you have to look at the past, and then you have to look at the future, right? If the past is one way it serves as it will give you a sign of what the outcome, what the future will be, right? So if you are teaching children misinformation about their history, and I'm talking about Black children, they learning about Black history, again, going back to, they might not learn about the Little Rock Nine. Imagine that. Imagine you live in Arkansas and you don't even know, as a Black child, and you don't even know who the Little Rock Nine is. Can y'all imagine that? Cindy D, you say Black history is American history. I remember going to the library to learn it. It wasn't taught in the 70s like that. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anastasia, my sister, you checked in. You said the problem is they know that we are learning the real truth about more American history, and that we all didn't come from Africa on slave ships. Where are the ships? They know. They know. But we're also in a very, very important time, because this is we are much more culturally advanced at this time than we have ever been before. Conscious Thought, you said, let us remember then Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus shut down the schools in the entire state for a year in order to prevent integration. As then is now, it's racism pure and simple, Farajii. You are absolutely right, Conscious Thought. And when we don't speak up, look, we see it happening in states, Miami and in Florida, they're rising up against stuff. Can we expect Black Arkansas to rise up against stuff? We've been having a conversation about Black Montgomery to rise up. Are we going to see, folks? Crew, I want y'all to think about this. Should we expect to see some sort of pushback on this, especially as school gets started? Who else I got here? Pauline Hurt, my sister, you said, why isn't our leaders speaking out loudly about this? I think that some of them are, but guess what? It's not the leaders' responsibilities anymore, because the leaders that we have often looked to for guidance, for instruction, first and foremost, we have, I think, a couple of things are at play here, Pauline, and you tell me if I'm wrong. One is that some leaders, when leaders do speak up, right, we're not all in concert with them. We don't always agree with them. We don't agree with their strategies. We don't agree with their tactics. We don't agree with their thinking and philosophy, right? So that's one thing. But then I think the next thing is that now we are really at a time, folks, where we can't depend on just a few when we know as the majority, as the many, that this is wrong. We have to be empowered to speak up on our own, right? So Black Arkansas has to stand up along with the Little Rock Nine and say, no, we're not taking this anymore. Let me hear this. Official Sanika checking in. My brother, thank you. You said Black history acknowledges our fight against white supremacy, which makes conservative white Americans extremely uncomfortable. Absolutely. I love that thought, bro. Thank you so much for posting that. And that's part of the reason I think they don't want us to see it. If they start seeing that we've been fighting for this thing for years, if your children and my children and our grandchildren and nieces and nephews understand that, look, one, we're still in a condition where we are oppressed and they are using white supremacy, the ideas, the thinking of white supremacy to keep us in a space like this, and then you read history and you see how our people rebelled against that. It's a threat. It's a problem. It's a very, very big problem. So folks, we're going to have to see how this situation plays out. Again, big shout out to the Little Rock Nine for doing what they do and at least speaking up. But we have to connect the dots. We can't wait. We can't wait on other people. They kind of started the ball. We need to stand up as well. Folks, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I'm going to share with you what one, it might be in the same context and category as this, but what former governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan, has to say about an alternative to the Biden-Trump nomination, as this country is really trying to figure out what's the next footing, what is the footing going to be politically as all of these things are happening. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We talked a little bit about what's happening in the state of Arkansas as Little Rock Nine has spoken out against some of the newest restrictions, the latest restrictions on teaching Black history and how these courses won't be accepted or are considered to be non-credit courses towards college requirements. Students can still take them, but they won't get any type of credit as they're looking to matriculate into college. So we're seeing this in Republican-controlled states. We're seeing a lot of pushback on where we are in this country. Folks, I can't express this enough. And we're at a time in this country where fundamental changes are being considered to how this country governs its people. And guess what, folks? Black America is right in the center of that conversation. We're right there in the center. So it's going to be very important that we're engaged and involved. I have my sister Karen Waters checking in with us last week to talk about the work she's doing in the city of Los Angeles. It's going to be very important that we get involved. And if not involved, at least stay informed. Hence why we have this show, why we got this network. Setting this up, and I'm saying all of this to say that we're looking at a time where we start to question some things. The big question about where we are in this country is the whole conversation around the two-party system, Democrats and Republicans. And as Democrats and Republicans, we are kind of going back and forth what the Democrats are doing, not doing, what the Republicans are doing, what they're not doing. It's an ongoing debate. And so there's one group called No Labels that is looking to provide a third-party alternative if it shows that President Biden is going to be the nominee and President Trump is going to be the nominee. I was recently coming across some information. Even though this man now has 4 indictments, been impeached twice, he's still considered to be a 42% favorite to be the nominee for the Republican Party. I want y'all to think about that. He's still considered to be the front runner. This week, on Wednesday, the Republicans will have their first GOP debate. Trump is not going to be there because he's going to be doing an interview with Tucker Carlson. And there's talk that he may not show up at any debate. This is the man that's the front runner of the party. He feels so comfortable with the lead and with the momentum that he's got, he feels like he doesn't need to really debate. Because let's be honest, folks. What agenda is he playing? What agenda is he actually going to stand on? Like what's is going to be his new ideas? We all know he probably will go if, and this is a big if he is considered to be the party's nominee, he's going to go on a revenge tour. He's going to take it out on his political opponents. We all know this. So we're at this point that we got to figure out, well, what does this look like for the two-party system? And most importantly, what does this look like for Black America? Well, this group, No Labels, they have been in, this is a bipartisan group of folks, both Republican and Democrats, who have come together, who are looking at the two-party system and saying that this is getting crazier and crazier. People don't have faith in this government. People are losing faith in the idea of democracy. We need to offer a different type of candidate. And so former governor of Maryland, Governor Larry Hogan, who is not a Trumper, he's a Republican, but he's not a Trumper. He put out this tweet, and Keenan, if we could pull up that tweet, bro, truly appreciate it. He put out this tweet, y'all, where he said, quote, "We're at a point where we've never been in this country, where 2/3 of the people are not interested in voting for the likely Democratic or Republican nominees. An overwhelming majority of people are completely fed up with politics, and they think Washington is broken. If Trump and Biden are the nominees, it's very likely that No Labels organization will get access to the ballot and will offer an alternative. If most of the voters don't want A or B, we have an obligation to give them C for the good of the country." So we talk about this. I remember, y'all, I brought this up some time ago. I was like, there's this other group that's out there that's looking to put themselves out there. So you have Democrats and Republicans coming in together. These are people, and they said that the big concern, here's the big concern, and this is something I want us to key in on. The big concern, this came from Mr. David Axelrod. If you're not familiar, David Axelrod he's been critical and was getting President Obama in for those 2 terms. He was one of Obama's closest, not just allies, but one of his closest officials. He said this in the Hills conversation about this whole idea. Take a look at this. He said he's a former senior advisor for President Obama. He pushed back against Hogan's proposal Sunday, saying, honestly, doesn't that pave the way for Donald Trump? Doesn't that siphon votes from Joe Biden and elect a person that you have criticized so heavily? Let me just tell y'all something. Let me just share this with y'all. We cannot work out of fear, y'all. We can't work out of fear. This thing that we see happening in this country with Trump, with the parties, with the people, with Black America, we got to either move boldly or don't move at all. It can't be out of fear that we have little action. Because fearful action is destructive action. Y'all hear me? When you do something out of fear, you open yourself up to be destroyed. You open yourself up to be imposed upon. So if we're talking about creating a third party, and this group as No Labels is doing, then what's stopping Black folks from having some very serious conversation? It can't be just like, oh man, we got to stop Trump. I mean, come on, man. Trump gonna stop himself. Let me just tell you that. I'm really not worried about the personality of Donald Trump. The man he's going to stop himself. And I know that we tend to put so much on him. And I think that we need to stop putting so much on this man, like he got that much juice and power. He's been indicted. I know it still looks like he's not getting his, but we can't work out of fear. I'm trying to figure out, and as we look at this, and I'm just throwing this out there, we're going to have some more time this week because I'm going to revisit this as the GOP has their upcoming debate. But there's got to be an alternative. There's got to be an alternative. All right, crew, talk to me. Talk to me. You don't like my music, you say, asking white leaders about racial issues is pointless. All you can hope for is sympathy. All you can hope for is sympathy. We can ask for more, though. There are some white people in this country who are sick and tired of the injustice that's being done to Black people, to Native Americans, and to other marginalized groups of people in this country. There are some white people who do not subscribe to that racist thinking, who have worked hard to break out of that old mind, that master slave mentality. There are some white people who really are using their spaces, their platforms, not just on here on the show, but I'm telling you, I've come across folks, I work with people who do not think the same way. And I'm saying that if we're talking about bringing some sort of stability to the uncertainty of this country, it's going to require a lot of people to be hands on deck at this point. Lana, you say Trump will not go to jail now. What will Black America do now that there is no boogeyman? And that's the thing, Lana. Lana, you hitting the nail on the head, sis. We created this boogeyman out of Trump. And every time we talk about some sort of taking a different step politically, the question always comes up, well, won't that open the door for Trump? Come on, y'all. Come on. We got through the first 4 years. So what makes you think we can't get, if he's elected? Again, this is a big if, but what makes you think we can't get, see, this is a sign that we're afraid and we don't have faith in ourselves at the same time. Come on, crew, talk to me. John D., you said when Tom Joyner Morning Show was on, he had a Black History segment every day on his radio. Why don't today Black radio stations do the same thing? Black families still need to teach Black history. You're right, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And if you learn history, you know that Black folks are resilient regardless to the circumstances, regardless to what leadership is in the White House, regardless of where the people are. But you got at the same, we got to have faith in ourselves that we're going to, as Kendrick Lamar said, we're going to be all right. Somewhere along the line, our fear of Trump has overridden our ability to have faith in ourselves and have faith in the goodness of other people. Come on, y'all. Y'all talking to me? Talia Hall, my sister, you said, yes, most people do give Trump too much power out of fear. Exactly, sis. I'm tired of having that conversation. I'm tired every time we talk, and I'm serious, y'all. I'm very serious. We're going to take another pause. I'm so sick and tired of people saying, well, what about Trump? What about Trump? Come on, man. Look, the GOP is imploding right now. They can't figure it out. They can't get it together. So you mean to tell me that if Trump is the GOP, the Republican nominee, that we should just what? Give up? Say, man, there's all is lost. We went through Reagan, Nixon, right? Two of the most conservative, Reagan, as they consider him to be the father of modern day conservatism. Nixon, who ushered in the war on drugs, which was a war against Black people. We went through all of this and we get mad and we afraid of Trump. Conscious Thought, you said we do not have the organization within the Black community to capitalize on the discontent among the masses. We're not organized. We're not organized as we like to think that we're not organized. I think we do have some organization. You go into the Black community, every community is organized in its own way. We just got to capitalize off the momentum. But you know what? I hear your point. But you know what we'll get to, Conscious Thought, bro? You know what will make us organized? When we get some fire under our asses. That's what organizes. Circumstances will force us to organize. When George Floyd was killed, you didn't have to call. Nobody had to ask us to go into the streets and protest. We just went to the streets on our own. When anything of circumstance came to happen in Black America, we just talked about the riverboat brawl. Do you think somebody had to ask those Black folks, hey, man, why don't you help somebody? That brother jumped into the water. We are organized. You know what the beginning of organization is? Being conscious, waking up from the slumber. Once you start to think differently, it's easy for you to organize. We can organize. All we got to do is plant a new seed of thought. about who we are, what time it really is, and what must be done, folks. We're organized. When we want to look, we always kind of make a joke. When we want to see things, when we want to go see Beyonce, we get organized. When we want to, when we making jokes about the white chair, we on one page about the white chair, but we can't get organized if there's an impending threat to our very humanity and existence. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Young Sikh, you said if you have details in your demand for those whom you pay out of your taxes, you don't have to depend on sympathy, not a slave master mentality, but exercising power. That's where we are. That's where we are. Exercising power. See, I'm not asking us to do something crazy. I'm saying to us, why don't we actually consider doing something that's in our interest? No Labels is doing something that's in their interest. They're talking about presenting an alternative candidate. We're stopping Black folks from putting up some candidates. I'm talking about some real candidates. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about some real candidates. Why can't we get to that place? Why can't we have a different conversation? And I know some people say, well, if it's a Trump, that's fear talk. I can't hear that no more, y'all. I can't take it. I can't take it. Somebody tell me about the greatness. Trump is not God. I'm telling you, this is, we are not going to, look, that man was in office, January 6th happened. Look what has happened. Guess what? We've been blessed to live through that and move on. He is not God. He wants us to make it as if he's got the key to unleash hate. No, man, please. How is he going to unleash hate when it's our time to rise? How's that going to happen? We got to have a different conversation. I'm not mad at No Labels. You know why I'm not mad at No Labels? Is because they see a problem, and then at the same time, they're saying, here, we got to offer a solution. With Black America, unfortunately, because of our conditioning, we have been taught that when we see a problem, we run to some other person to solve the problem. We have lost the ability and the faith to see that we have the answers to our own problems. Does that mean that we come across as a certain type, that we just push people out the way, that we just disregard other people, that we don't build relationships and bring on allies? No. It simply means we at least need to really consider having a different conversation, because at the end of the day, you and I know this two-party system, the way this country is being governed, is not working. It's not working. I was always taught that 100% dissatisfaction brings about 100% change. We ain't dissatisfied enough. That's why when nothing is really changing at the speed we want it to change, we ain't dissatisfied enough. So look, the question is, when are we going to get dissatisfied? Don't let that riverboat thing tell you, oh man, we fighting back. I mean, it's a good little something, get the juices flowing, but that's not the real fight. That's not the real fight. Y'all heard what them brothers and sisters down in said Black Montgomery had to say. The real fight is getting us to have political liberation, economic security, educational liberation. That's the real fight. Yeah, we can knock some people out, but we got to keep that same energy. So I want us to just really think about this. All this week, God willing, we're going to have more conversations about third parties, and more importantly, as the GOP debate heats up, and as we get closer to that on Wednesday, I want to have more conversations about this, the viability, the sustainability, this idea of democracy. How can we have some different conversation as it relates to the issues, to the interests, to the concerns of Black America? That's the conversation I believe we need to have. Look, I got to take another quick pause. We're going to shift gears, but when we come back, folks, we're going to check in with our Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that we're not getting, you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com.
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Man, oh man, it is Monday, folks, and we want to, of course, bring you up to speed on how you can do your part to make sure that you keep your health and wellness in a good place. So we do that as we check in with family physician, cannabis expert, and author and entrepreneur, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment here on The Culture. Doc, good afternoon. How are you?
Great. How are you, Farajii?
I
know. Yeah, I was right there with you. I was right there with you.
That's all I'm gonna say, Doc. That's all I'm gonna say. This is a lot of stuff for us to comprehend and understand. And I know, just want to, and I, just very, very, very quickly.
Yes.
Trying to emotionally, mentally, physically, to some way, try to handle all of these this constant onslaught that we are experiencing here in this country, as it relates to our history and our identity. You work in family medicine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not expecting you to be a psychologist, but what does this do to us? Like, when it's this ongoing, this like questioning about who we are, and then we're seeing people attack us, and like medically, is there anything that medically shows that just being Black in America is a DSM-4 condition?
I've said it before. If you're Black in America, you have PTSD, right? That the stress that it takes to be able to survive and flourish in this country, puts us mentally in a place unlike any other group in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, as you were talking earlier, we're at a place that is new for us, but we're also in a place that's very familiar with our ancestors and with those that have come before us. We just have the opportunity to vocalize in a different manner. And so we have to be protective of the stress that it puts us under, without a doubt. It is also our opportunity to dig in and to make the changes and not be passive. There's no reason for us, with all that we've had and all that we've been able to accomplish in this country, there's no room for us to be passive anymore. We have strength, we have financing, we have ability to make moves that were decades of battle in the past. We just need to come together and get it done.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right. That helped to water my soul a little bit, Doc. So I appreciate it.
What you're doing is what is important to bring that conversation to the forefront so we can make those changes. So kudos to you, as always.
Oh, no, thank you. And I'm big shout out to the ancestors, man. Like, that's the spirit in which we're taking this thing in. So that's the spirit we're going to go with it. But Doctor, as we're talking about, stress, and as we're talking about managing all of this stuff, there are some things that in the space that you work, which is in the cannabis industry, that you're seeing happening right now. Talk to us about this latest report that says that's being refuted, saying that cannabis smoke is less toxic than tobacco smoke.
So this is an ongoing conversation. And first, let me just say that I am visiting St. Louis today. Let me just throw that out there. And I'm at the Vogue Airbnb. So I like to support us and support, other entrepreneurs in this space. So if you come to St. Louis, look up Airbnb, look up the Vogue in St. Louis on Washington, and support this Black family that created this incredible space for me and my family to be at today. So with that being said, and mentioning the stress, and for a lot of people, cannabis has a lot to do with combating the stress that we experience. However, there's this ongoing conversation that does cannabis cause, is it safe? Is cannabis smoking safe? Is it the same as tobacco smoking? And does it cause cancer the way that tobacco and nicotine smoking causes? And so I find it interesting every time this comes up, because there's a lot of groups across the US, universities that do research in this area. A lot of times we're coming up with different information all the time. What we're looking at today was a story that came through CNN with Dr. Beth Cohen from the University of California in San Francisco. And what she's suggesting is that when you burn something, whether it's tobacco or cannabis, it creates toxic compounds, carcinogens, and particulate matter that are harmful to health. She said in an email, it's the combustion that's the problem. So this idea that because cannabis is natural burning and inhaling, it is fine, it is wrong. And that statement right there, I am in agreement with. That whenever you are burning anything, combusting, you are releasing carcinogens, okay? The problem that comes from a story like this is that it is suggesting that cannabis is causing cancer at the same rates that tobacco smoke does, and by no means is that true.
So there's no study, there's no research to back up that claim.
The claim, so there's research actually showing that cannabis causes less cancer than tobacco smoking. What I find interesting is that one of Dr. Cohen's colleagues, also at University of California in San Francisco, refutes this and actually comes back and says that the research has suggested that smoking marijuana can cause damage to the lungs, but it is not as detrimental. So I said damage to the lungs, but not as detrimental as smoking tobacco. The studies have also concluded that smoking marijuana may not increase a person's risk of lung cancer, but we do need more research. So that is the truth of the matter, that anytime you're combusting, you're releasing carcinogens. Anytime you're inhaling smoke, you are causing damage that can increase chronic coughing, acute bronchitis, sputum production. Is it causing cancer in the same rates? We don't think so. And one of the reasons is that anytime you're smoking a cigarette, you are taking in 4,000 chemicals, many of them including arsenic, acetone, ammonia, benzene, formaldehyde, lead, as well as obviously the tar that you end up inhaling. When you're burning cannabis that is grown organically, which is the way that when you're going to dispensaries, they're not using pesticides in this manner. There's a handful of chemicals that are produced in the process of combustion. So we're talking about anywhere between 5 or 7 different chemicals that are part of the combustion process. Not nearly the 4,000 that are not only a part of the combustion, but also in the cigarette itself when you're smoking tobacco cigarettes. So it's not the same. I'm never going to sit here and tell you, oh, so go ahead, smoking is fine, it's good for you. I'm never going to say that. You know, in an ideal world, I don't want you to inhale anything but fresh, clean air. But smoking has been a part of cultures across the world for a very long time. And so keeping that in mind, temperance is probably the most important part of this. Temperance meaning heavy smokers of cannabis are more likely to be the ones, if they are to produce cancer, those are the ones. Heavy smokers means daily and several times a day. But at the same time, if you're using it when symptomatic, when it is needed, you're less likely to be in that space. So there's a lot of research that's needed. It's an important conversation. And if I can make any suggestion to people, that if you are vaping, I'm not talking about oil cartridges. If you're vaping flower, that means you're getting flour, you're putting in a vaporizer. You can control the temperature so you're not getting it to the combustion level, that you're getting it so that it's much more of a mist, that you're getting the cannabinoids as it's being released from the plant, and you're less likely to have those same issues and get those chemicals that are produced in the process of combustion.
All right, let me take a quick pause, Doc. And folks are checking in because they want to share their thoughts on this. So we're going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, folks, more conversation with our very own Dr. Bridget MD for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness. And of course, crew, getting to your comments as well. So stay with us. We still got a lot more to discuss here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all. All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been checking in with our very own Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness, as we're talking about something that's an ongoing discussion within the cannabis and smoking industry about which is safer or which is a little bit better than the other, which is this idea that inhaling cannabis may be a little bit safer than inhaling tobacco. Now, this is coming out. This is coming out of a report that said that a majority of American adults said yes to the question: is inhaling marijuana smoke safer than inhaling smoke from tobacco? A majority of adults said yes, according to a new survey, and they also believe there is less harm to adults and children from secondhand marijuana smoke than tobacco smoke. However, according to Dr. Beth Cohen, a professor of UC San Francisco and co-director of UC San Francisco's program in residency investigation methods and epidemiology, she said this is not true. So we had to bring on our expert, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, MD, who is a family physician. She's also a cannabis expert and author of the book Courage in Cannabis, Volume 1 and Volume 2. To kind of talk to us about what are we actually seeing. Is it true or is it not true? Now, Dr. Bridget, you've mentioned a point that that there is research to show that marijuana smoke is not as damaging as tobacco smoke.
Right.
But there are still some chemicals that are being taken into the body, especially if you are a heavy cannabis user. And as you describe it, if you lighten one up 2 or 3 times a day, you know what I mean? Of course, you're going to get something happening to your lungs, folks. Like, you just got to be smart about it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting.
Healing smoke. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. Let me share with you what some of the crew members are checking in, and we got a new crew member. So let me give a big shout out to the sister that just gave to us. I think her name is Anitra. There we go. Amitra Davis. Thank you so much for your support, bringing the Funk Fan Club Level 1. We truly appreciate you for checking in as you tune in to Dr. Bridget here. But here's what folks are saying, Doc. Let me make sure I'm pulling this up. You said that there were a couple of questions. One is questions about neurological issues. This is from Monkey Confessions in our chat. Mm-hmm. Neurological issues with the question mark. And then the second one is from, I saw another one from about edibles. So can you speak to the impact of both of those things? First, let's talk about the neurological issues from cannabis smoke. What's the research saying about that?
Okay, so there's a couple different layers to that. That CBD, which tends to be in very low amounts in smoking flower, because we've made this flower that's high in THC, but CBD and some THC can actually be neuroprotective, okay? But if you're using excessive amounts of smoke itself, when you're talking about combustion and you're talking about those chemicals, it can have some effect as far as neurological issues. Just like with tobacco, it can cause blue toe and there's a lot of things that can happen. However, it's not nearly as much. But what we have found is that just like we're talking about, does it cause cancer? Evidence also shows that THC can actually kill cancer cells. Okay. With neurologically, that if you're combusting and using excessive amounts, there can be some neurological issues. CBD and THC are actually neuroprotective. So there needs to be a balance there. At the end of the day, like I said, the less, temperance, the less you smoke, you'll be dealing with less of the consequences that happen when you're actually smoking and combusting. But cannabis in itself can actually be very protective.
Crystal Jordan, and I appreciate you saying that, Doc. Crystal Jordan, you said the cannabinoids in cannabis can be beneficial when ingested or eaten. Learn more about the different terpenes, and you can eventually find the best strains for you. Talk to us about what Crystal is bringing up.
Historically, we're kind of used to people that, we're used to this whole scenario of rolling the joint and smoking, and it's also kind of a social thing to do. But the fact of the matter is, as far as our ancestors, how did we use cannabis initially? We put it into tea. We ingested it. We drank it. We were eating it in different forms. That's probably the best way that you can actually take it in. There's over 100 or more cannabinoids that are accessible through the cannabis plant. We're learning more and more about them. We tend to talk about CBD and THC, but there's so many incredible benefits that you can get from these other cannabinoids. And if you take out the combustion part, you're going to be able to get better use of this plant. When it comes to the terpenes, that's really the magic in the sauce. The terpenes are the essential oils of the cannabis plant. They find that it has incredible medicinal value, and that the smell that you get from cannabis, and keep in mind, if you've got 100 different terpenes all mixed up there together, that's why it smells the way it does. There's a lot going on, right? It's a practical pharmacy in itself. But if you dig in, identify the terpenes that are beneficial for the conditions that you need to use. If you're eating them, if you're putting them, the flower into tea, what have you, you're going to get a better result without having to worry about smoking.
I hear that. Cindy D, my sister, she said, what about newborn babies, Doc? Babies exposed to weed can die or be stillborn at birth. Many babies in our communities die due to the secondhand smoke. Can you speak to that?
So there's a couple different layers to this. So I used to actually spend a great deal of my time as a medical review officer. So that means that when you got a job and got tested, urine tested for drugs for your new job, I was the doctor on the other end reading those results and reporting back. And so from the information that we understand about this, let's first say that secondhand smoke isn't someone that's walking by, okay, and they inhale it. Secondhand smoke is that you're basically in an incubator and you're basically taking the same amount of smoke that the smoker is for the most part. So
wait, hold on, Doc, because I think that's a good point that you're making.
Yeah.
That a lot of times secondhand smoke has often been presented as you just getting a quick whiff,
right,
of the smoke in the air. So you're saying that that's not really secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke is if you're in a like a room and you're sitting next to your homeboy, your homegirl, you talking and they're smoking and you're just taking it in, but it's in a room that might not.
Right, you're inhaling that smoke without any ventilation. The reason why I say this is because we had many people that say, "Oh, I was in the room while such and such was smoking," or "I was in the car." If you're in the car and all the windows are up and you're just making basically a smoke hut in there, yeah, that might be an issue. But most of the time, when we're with someone that's smoking, there's some ventilation that's available, and so sometimes we over dramatize what that looks like. Now, getting back to the newborn baby, there's a lot of, again, we just don't have enough solid research because there's some research that says that there can have that cannabis, if the mom is using cannabis during pregnancy, there's low birth weight, there's concerns about developmental, meeting milestones, what have you. There's research on the other end of that says that children are not heavily affected by it. I think what we don't know is because it's hard to measure smoking in itself and how people are taking it in. And inhalation for me and how deep that is and how much I'm getting, it might be different for you or other people. we don't really have solid information because there's research that says that children are mildly, if not affected by cannabis smoke. And so again, if you are pregnant, I highly suggest you quit smoking anything and everything for the benefit of your child. Okay. I think there may be some minimal cannabis use that could be helpful for nausea or other issues that pregnant women might experience, but I don't recommend smoking to get there. To balance that out, just like we have categories for pregnancy and lactation, there's some medications that we consider safe, category A and B, and there's other medications that we consider only if necessary, which is more like a category C, which is where I would put cannabis. So we have to have temperance in using this. And if you're an excessive user, if you have no balance in your use, if you're having to use more and more of it to be able to get to the same therapeutic level, whatever that means to you, in using it, you need to take a break. There are things called tolerance breaks, where you're smoking for about 5 days to rebuild your receptors, to balance your body. THC mimics some of our natural endocannabinoids, but it does not do everything our natural endocannabinoids do. And when we have excessive amounts of THC, we're suppressing those endocannabinoids. And now, even though our endocannabinoid system creates balance in our body, too much THC use will actually pull us out of that balance. So be mindful in use.
Namre Abioye, you said, I suppose the pros and cons around smoking cannabis all depends on the suppliers. I know there are licensed cannabis growers, distributors, but not everyone source their cannabis from legit suppliers. And then other crew members in the chat, Doc, that is also saying that if you grow if you're getting your supply from organically grown or quote unquote homegrown, without all of the extra stuff added to it, that it's not as damaging. So talk to us about this piece that Namre brought up, which is about licensed cannabis growers getting it from a certain supplier. How does that work, especially in places like California, Colorado, where you have all of these dispensaries that are popping up, and you're not asking those questions like, oh, well, is this organically grown? You're just like, oh, okay, what's the THC? What's the, you're asking those other questions. So talk to us about that.
So I highly recommend, I'm not against the home grow. And if your cousin is a master grower and you want to, get some of your supply from your cousin, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I want to see a lab test or know that a lab test is available for anything that you're buying. Because at the end of the day, if you are using anything that everybody doesn't grow the same, even if they're not using pesticides. And so you want to get something that has what you want in it, has the terpenes that you want in it, has the cannabinoid profile that you want in it, and that that there's no mold or bacteria or anything else. And if you have lab testing, that's what it shows. The reason why one of the reasons why nicotine tobacco smoking is as bad as it is because it's covered with pesticides. And we already know from our food supply, heavy amounts of pesticides cause additional problems, right? So you want something that is grown as organically as possible. You want something that has the medicine in it that you're looking for. And that's what you will find from lab testing, and that it doesn't contain mold and fungus and bacteria and metals and that you would get if it's not grown properly. So there's a good reason why we have the dispensary system that we have, but we also have to take responsibility for our own health.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, we got to take a quick pause, Doc. When we come forward, as we're talking about this cannabis in terms of the smoke, let's talk about how in the state of New York, they're putting up some walls for folks to even get licensed to open dispensaries, especially those who have been penalized and thrown into the prison system, came out of the prison system looking to open up a dispensary, and now they can't. Yeah. So is this about cannabis or is this just straight racism? What are we looking at? So get your take on that. Crew, stay with us. We're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Bridget, MD, for Reclaim Your Wellness right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
I'm Farajii Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Your host, Farajii Muhammad. Checking in with my sister, our doctor, family physician, Dr. Bridget Cole-Williams, MD, for Reclaim Your Wellness, as we're talking about cannabis smoke and the ongoing battle to open up the regulation and the opening of dispensaries, especially for among Black entrepreneurs within the cannabis space. Let me bring my sister back into the frame. First and foremost, Doc, we got a lot of smokers in the chat.
Okay.
We got a lot of smokers in the chat. So folks are checking in, sharing their personal stories, as well as just their understanding of how this whole thing with cannabis has created this other space for Black folks. But I do want to kind of speak to the business side of things, which is what we're seeing in the state of New York. I remember when New York City started the conversation, at least opened it up, it was early this year when they opened it up and opened up their first dispensary. You know, when you came on the show that Monday, I think you had just gone to that dispensary or you were going to go to that dispensary. You were in New York at the time. Mm-hmm. And kind of sharing with us like how this is a new space, especially among for Black entrepreneurs. Well, this is the same state. In that same breath, New York is now under great scrutiny because they're according to the latest report. Take a look at this. This is coming from the Griot, folks. Mm-hmm. The New York Supreme Court Justice Kevin Bryan, and he blocked the state from processing or issuing marijuana dispensary licenses with an injunction that faulted regulators for creating a program that is at odds with the state law that legalized the drugs. The order represents a severe setback for the state's legal marijuana industry, which has been defined by a slow licensing rollout, a glut of excess marijuana crops and legal challenges that have allowed an illicit market to boom. The veterans' lawsuit argues that state marijuana regulators improperly limited the initial round of licenses to people with prior marijuana convictions rather than a wider group of so-called social equity applicants included in the original law. The judge last week temporarily blocked the state's program as legal arguments in the case played out, with Friday's order extending the shutdown. All right, let me break this down. Let's break this down for our folks to understand on this, Doc. This judge said you can't issue a license to a dispensary license to anybody that essentially has a prior marijuana conviction. So when you have Black folks who are coming out of the prison industrial complex, looking to kind of, start another chapter in their life, yes, looking to become entrepreneurs and essentially getting into the dispensary space in the state of New York, they're putting some blockages, they're putting some red tape up for you. Talk to us about this. And do you agree with what the Grio's saying? This is a quote unquote severe setback for the industry and severe setback for Black entrepreneurs.
So it's without a doubt an ongoing setback and confusion in the state of New York. It never ends there. So typically what happens that you see states that create social equity programs means that they provide or allow as licenses to first go to people that have been affected by the war on crime, people that have lived in the neighborhoods, that have had drug convictions themselves and been imprisoned. They first give them the first round of licenses. Okay. I have friends in New York that were a little mad because they might have had a conviction, but it wasn't a drug conviction and they didn't get that opportunity. Okay. And so they wait until their opportunity does arise. What you see happen is that the veterans have said, wait, we want first pick. Why are we not included in this first round? So we're just going to put a hold on all of this, as well as they don't specify, but other disenfranchised groups as well are standing behind the veterans. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. I mean,
what's happening? But Doc, what's happening on the ground? Like when you were there last, having these conversations about opening up dispensaries, and I know, like here in Los Angeles, like if you go to the Crenshaw area, the Leimert Park area in South LA, I mean, they got dispensaries. Black women are owning dispensaries. I mean, it seems like everybody's getting in on the game, right? So what is New York? What do you think is New York's ultimate goal is with the situation? If they're blocking licensing, are they trying to push back on Black folks entering into the market space? Or I mean, what is really going on?
I just think that as cannabis has crossed the U.S., that you're dealing with a very litigious group, that something doesn't go their way, let's put a hold to it and let's block it. The fact of the matter is what we learned in kindergarten was how to stand in line. And what some people don't like is who's standing in front of them in line. Okay. And I don't have a problem with the fact that they gave the first round to people that were in prison, that had drug convictions. I don't have a problem with that. And that other minority groups or people that have been disenfranchised, they will get their opportunity next. The fact of the matter is every time someone gets upset, they're putting a hold, and the whole system in New York is already messed up. As you know, that they have these illegal shops. Usually an illegal shop means there's something going on in the back room. In New York, illegal shops have neon signs saying cannabis here, come in here and buy weed. I've never seen, how is it, they're in broad daylight and they're okay. Yeah. And so while they continue the slow rollout and stalling of these licenses for people who honestly are putting a lot of money into it, they have investors, they're pushing all of this energy, and they keep getting held back. Sometimes they lose their funding, their backing, they have dates, they have requirements to paying back money with all of this going on, and it's causing more and more problems. And these illegal shops only continue to grow. So they might say they're putting a stop to them, but New York is wild. Those folks they're still open. They close one place or opening someplace else. They need to give the people that have been disenfranchised their opportunity. Get in line. We learned it in kindergarten. Everybody will eat if you allow someone to get started.
Do you think that this is still the one of the pathways for us as a people for economic, for us to get into a better economic space? Because that was one of the things that I heard. I even went as heard as far as this, Doc, and crew, y'all tell me if y'all heard this or not. Some people have even gone as far as to say that opening up a dispensary is like a partial form of reparations.
I do look at it like that. I tend to be very conservative with all of this. I believe that we are due our what we earned and what we are due to the war on drugs and Nixon and how it's destroyed our communities and how we had people that didn't have the opportunity to get education, incredibly well-minded business people. And yes, they chose an avenue that was illegal at the time that is now profitable for white boys in corporate America. Yes, it is our opportunity, without a doubt. But the issues that they're creating, there was a Michigan group that sued New York because New York was favoring New Yorkers. Yes, they were favoring they continue, and this stalls and slows down the process from New York to actually have a viable, healthy program. They cannot have a healthy program as long as people are whining, standing in line and complaining.
So as we wrap this up, Doc, what's the next step? If this is happening in New York and it's a slow rollout program, does this affect other slow rollouts in other states from your vantage point? Do you see that happening?
Well, when you see one lawsuit after another lawsuit come forward, it makes states that haven't even gotten this far at all be a little leery, because with every lawsuit, there's tons of resources that have to go into managing it. And other states will be a little bit more cautious, maybe try to create a better program and do a rollout that runs a little bit better. So maybe they're learning from it, but sometimes it just slows the process for other states to even get started. So I think we need to, and the other part of this is that farmers that have been growing, the cultivators have been growing all this cannabis, but they have no place to sell it because they can't even open the dispensaries. We're now allowed to go to farmers markets and festivals to sell the weed that was supposed to be tested and put into dispensaries. This is chaos, and they need to get it together.
Absolutely. Dr. Bridget, it's always a pleasure to reconnect with you each and every week here on the show. Tell us about any upcoming chats, any upcoming events. I know you're moving around this country. You stay on the road, Doc.
A little bit.
You stay on the road. You stay a little bit, please. Every time we check in with you in a new city.
Well, I'm in St. Louis today. I'm with my daughters. We are seeing Beyonce for my youngest daughter's birthday. So
my God.
I'm
seeing Beyonce tonight.
I'm seeing Beyonce tonight, but I'm doing my part to stimulate the economy. Beyonce and Taylor Swift are making this country great again, and I'm just playing my part. I'm my part.
Hey, look, Taylor Swift gave everybody $100,000 boost to their checks, $55 million to her crew. Hey, y'all understand me? Taylor Swift gave everybody that worked on her tour an additional $100,000 bonus. $55 million worth of bonuses, y'all.
Yes. That's crazy.
Jeez. Yeah. For just thanking them to work on the tour. Taylor, when you come to Los Angeles.
I have direct deposits, so we can work this out real quick. So.
I hear you. All right, Doc. So tell us how folks can follow you on all social media as you're doing your work.
Absolutely. So typically after the show here, half an hour later, I do the after chat on Dr. Bridget MD. You can also find me on drbridgetmd.com. Today, I won't do the after chat, but I will go live and let you experience a little bit of St. Louis and the concert with me today. And that's my little self-care and mental health wellness. So I'll let you kind of be a part of that as we go to the concert this evening.
Hey, Dr. Bridget, you could just, I mean, you're amongst family and friends. Did Beyonce give you a personal invitation?
No, I don't know why you say stuff like that. No.
What do you mean why I say stuff like that? Because you're like in those spaces.
No.
Come on.
No. I wish, but this is for her 16th birthday, and so we're excited to celebrate.
That's what's up right there. Dr. Bridget, MD. Y'all can follow her on all social media spaces, folks. Make sure y'all follow her. The sister is absolutely phenomenal. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur. And she can be seen here weekly as one of our great weekly contributors here on The Culture on the Black Star Network. Dr. Bridget, thank you so much, sis. Enjoy the concert with your daughters. And God willing, we'll reconnect with you next Monday for another exciting edition of Reclaim Your Wellness. Thank you for being good to the culture, for the culture, Doc.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let me share something with you from Trends Post and Doing the Most. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape. With me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. For today's Trends Post and Doing the Most, let's talk about Atlanta, Georgia. Let's talk about history. Let's talk about Mamie Till and Emmett Till as their big special exhibit, opens in Atlanta, folks. I'm talking about the Atlanta Histories Center's Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mosby Let the World See exhibition. Is furthering Mamie's mission to, quote, let the people see what they did, which is just as important today as it was back in 1955. Now, this exhibition is a little bit different because it's offering a more unique and more intimate account of what really happened, being told through the firsthand account of Emmett Till's cousin, Reverend Wheeler Parker. Now, Reverend Parker actually accompanied Emmett to Mississippi from Chicago. He was there the night that Emmett was kidnapped and during all of the horrific events, according to Miss Kristen Witherspoon, who serves as the Atlanta History Center Vice President of digital storytelling. She said, quote, "It's really important that people hear this story from his vantage point as someone who was there. He's able to give interesting insight into who Emmett was even before he came to Mississippi. He was jovial, he was happy. I think people forget that he was a child." That's absolutely true. To Miss Weatherspoon's point, I think that is true. We have put Emmett Till as this person, his life, his death is a pivotal moment in our history. But at the end of the day, folks, he was 14 years old. He was a baby. He's still a child. And so if you're in Atlanta and you would like to see or gain more history into this part of the story, into this part of our history, you can definitely check out the Atlanta History Center's Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley Let the World See exhibition. And it's happening now. It runs all the way through September. Let me just pull up the dates on how far this is going to. Yep, this is going to be running all the way through September, folks. From August 5th through September 17th, the touring exhibition. It was created in collaboration with the Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley Institute, the Emmett Till Interpretive Center, the Till family, and the Children's Museum of Indianapolis will all be on display in Atlanta. And so this is going to be another opportunity to learn some history, especially down in Atlanta. I know we got some crew members down in Georgia. I know we got a lot of crew members down in Georgia. So if you're down there, if you're visiting there, if your peoples are down there, let them know to learn more. Look, we talk about the importance of history. We can't wait for someone else to teach our story, to tell our story, to teach our history. Let's be very, very, what's the best word I can use? Let's just be very serious about making sure that we learn our history at every opportunity that we can. And more importantly, folks, expose it to your children. You might say, well, it's so dangerous and so violent, but guess what? It was those lessons when somebody showed me what happened during the transatlantic slave trade and told me about different moments in our history. Those are the things that stuck out in my mind as a child. It shook me, but at the same time, guess what? I didn't forget it. I did not forget it. So big shout out to the Atlanta History Center for putting on this exhibition, and the Till family and all of the partners for putting this on to keep the story and, of course, the big legacy and lesson of Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley's story alive and well. Folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you for checking in. Big shout out to Terrence Renberg, another member who has shown his support for the Bring the Funk fan club at a level 1. So Terrence, thank you so much. There we go. Let me go back to Kina. Let's give a little something for our sister Amitra. We didn't do it because Dr. There we go. There we go. And if you haven't had a chance to donate to show your support for Black Star Network, go to our website today, folks, at blackstarnetwork.com. And that is the website, that is our home website where you can download the app for free. You can share the content. Most importantly, you can stay notified of all of our programming, special programs, special streamings that we're doing. But this is the place, this is the digital media space that we have these conversations on each and every day, from the show, from the culture to the Black Table to all of the dope shows that we have here. Of course, our major show, of course, is Roland Martin Unfiltered, hosted by our brother and founder, Brother Roland Martin. So Black Star Network should be everywhere on all of your devices. Follow us on social media, Black Star Network. And of course, we can be seen on Amazon News, on your Fire TV, on Plex TV. We are all over the place. We're expanding the platform. So your support helps us to get this word out there. And we thank you for your support. All right, folks, make sure you follow me. You can follow me at Farajii Muhammad. I'm at The Real Farajii on Instagram. I'm on Farajii on Twitter and on Facebook and on Threads. Just make sure y'all follow us. We would love to connect with you. So I appreciate all of you for checking in. I thank you to my dynamic production team. I thank Maddie, Chris, Joel, Shannon, and of course my man King Keenan for making us look and sound good. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. Crew, I cannot thank y'all enough. Big shout out to the new members of the Culture Crew. Come on back tomorrow. We would love to connect with you. Wednesday, folks, is the GOP debate. We're going to be checking in with our sister Suzette Speaks. She's going to check in and share her thoughts about that as we get ready for that. And again, all this week, let's have some bigger conversations about where we are in this country, about the state of democracy as it relates to Black America. So we're going to continue our conversation about that. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we will reconnect very soon for another exciting edition of The Culture, right here, exclusively here, only here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace.